Is it possible to homeschool high school successfully so that our kids can have a good life? Let's check that out. Hi there, dear mommies. This is Sherry Hayes with MomDelights.com. I'm the mom of 15. I've been homeschooling for over 30 years. And today I want to share something that will add to your life. So go ahead and wash the dishes and clean the kids and declutter or whatever you need to do. And listen as we dive into the good life in Jesus. So today, I'd like to talk to you about something important, something that comes up a lot in my comments, and that is, what do you do for high school? How do you handle teens on their way to adulthood? And we've done that, let's see, I think that we've graduated 13 of our 15 children. So the teen years is something that we've really experienced. I could say really experienced. Now, a lot of it has been joyful. There have been some heartaches. There have been some hard times. But here we are today, and I still have most of my hair, and I don't think I'm loony. Anyway, the first thing I want to talk to you about when dealing with the high school years and with teens is don't be afraid, okay? Yes, you will make mistakes, and because life is unscripted. Remember, God knows how to draw straight with crooked lines. Now, I was just listening to something from Doug Wilson, and that's what he said. And I thought, that's what it is. It's like, God has a place where he's taking us. But along the way, there's all kinds of stuff happening. And that's okay. It's all right. God's not put off by the fact that we're not perfect and we don't make perfect decisions, right? Now, remember also that in the teen years, if you try to think back when you were a teen and all of the dreams and the ambitions and the things you wanted to do, you probably aren't doing them today. You probably changed like 2 or 3 different times before you landed on something, right? We don't live in a society in America where it's totally scripted. Now, some people in Europe, it may be that they're like in high school or maybe before that, it's decided what they will do the rest of their lives. It really does happen. But we don't live in a planned society. We live in a society where, you might start out to do something and end up doing something else, and that's totally okay. I think that it's important when you're homeschooling high school that you give up on the idea of typical, okay? Like typically this is what you do this, then you do this, then you do this, because life, it just doesn't always work that way, especially if you step out and decide you're going to serve the Lord. Guess what? Things get changed. All the time they change up, and that's fun. That's part of the adventure. It says that those who live godly will do exploits. What's an exploit? An exploit is not typical. Okay. Number 2, here's the big question that a lot of people have. It's, should you put your homeschooled child into high school? And this is a biggie because everybody's different. Everybody has a different experience. Some of my favorite people actually were homeschooled until high school, then went into high school. We have a really close son-in-law, precious son-in-law, and that's what happened to him. So he was homeschooled in the important parts, then put in high school, and there were many different reasons for that. Sometimes a child is put into high school, in public high school, after being homeschooled, is because maybe they are working for an athletic scholarship or something like that. I mean, there could be some reasons. However, I believe that it is not like, you don't have to do that. There are so many different, and some kids, most kids, I think, will be farther ahead if they're homeschooled all the way through. And there are a number of reasons for that, and I will share with you. One pitfall of putting your child into public school and high school is because they probably aren't really grounded in who they are yet. And that's really a critical point in their lives when they can be influenced by outside pressure, peer pressure and the like. And so if you take that very vulnerable person that's been homeschooled up until that point, and so they're not even used to the public school system at all, so they're feeling really uneasy, right, about putting themselves into a system where you have a class, you have a test, all that kind of stuff. The whole system is hard to deal with. I remember in 7th grade, I had a stomach ache every day, And so you're putting them in the middle of that morass, the chaos of the expectations to, conform at a time when they really are not very settled in themselves. I mean, certain children are, but most children are not. They are becoming young adults, but they're not there yet. And you're sticking them in a situation where it's focused on pressuring them into a mold. It's very hard for them, and a lot of kids fall off and they don't do well. Okay? It takes a very certain kind of person to be able to handle that kind of pressure at that age. All right. But there are so many benefits to homeschooling high school. Okay. Number one, the kids have time to hone in on their areas of interest. Okay. This is very important. Now, my son, our oldest son, when he started working, he had a number of jobs. He started working when he was 15, and he was homeschooled the whole time. At one point, he was fixing the computers for the public school system, and that was the only time he'd ever gone to public school, when he was fixing their computers. I know. So then when he finally, he did a number of different things, and finally he started actually working in an environment where there was an older woman who just come into that workplace, and people weren't treating her very well. So he noticed that she was being very discouraged. And here she is probably 20 years older than he is. And he shoots her an email and he says, "Don't be discouraged. I know it's hard for you, but they'll eventually accept you and you're going to do well here." Here he's 20 years. And that impressed her so much. The only person in the office was this young man, 20 years younger than she was, and he was encouraging her, which was really sweet. So I met her. She was she was so encouraged by him, and she was so impressed with his kindness that she came any event he had, like when he was getting married, she was there. When his wife was expecting, she was there. And I talked to her and she said, your kids, because they're homeschooled, they do better than their peers at younger ages because they've had time, instead of having to deal with all the stuff you have to do with public school, all that time that's taken for stuff that really doesn't matter. They were able to spend that time honing in on skills that they could use in the rest of their lives. So it really did benefit them. Our older children, we were so afraid. We didn't know what we were doing. But they started out ahead of their peers because the areas that they went into for a vocation, they had been practicing and exploring all their teen years. They didn't have to worry about all the assemblies and the extracurriculars and the proms and everything. I know people say, "I don't want to miss out on prom," but gee, our kids didn't really miss out, and it put them further ahead in their lives. So they found things that they were really interested in, and they were able to develop themselves so that when they got into a marriage, they had a lot to bring into it, right? Okay, they have more time to develop who they are spiritually and emotionally. Like I said, they're spiritually and emotionally ahead of their peers because they haven't had that pressure and the damaging, shall we say, the deprecation and the constant, the barrage, shall I call it. Also, they can take courses via college, online, and etc. So just because they haven't graduated doesn't mean they can't do college courses and etc. I mean, they can explore different things on a higher level when they're in high school, and they can just do it piecemeal if they want to. It doesn't matter, but it gets them ahead. Then when they actually do go to college, if they want to, they've got those things under their belt. I mean, there's just so many opportunities. They can work to save money for their future. They can purchase their car so they don't have a car payment. They can save for their eventual marriage and their family. They can have time to save money while living with mom and dad. Okay, they can travel and participate in charitable activities. They can go on missions trips. They can help the homeless. They can work at an animal shelter. They can do all those fun things. Well, they're not always fun, but that's good for them. They can do volunteer work, and they can develop more of their personality and who they are. They can learn how to give. They can learn all those things, but they wouldn't have the time or energy if they were in a typical public school setting. All right. Here's some tricks that we've learned. Okay, as for higher math and science, I know this is like the major thing. Most people don't consider themselves to be capable of teaching at a high school level. And that's a big reason why they put their kids in high school, in a public high school. Okay, but you can find a tutor or an online course or something to help your kids with higher math. That's really a minuscule thing. You can do a co-op. There's a co-op someplace probably around you where you can put your kids in there and someone can help them with it. Okay? They could go to community college and take their courses and earn credits at the same time. And most careers don't even require this stuff. Okay? I mean, that's only there if they need it. And here's a little idea. If your child all of a sudden decides, you know what, I want to be an engineer. Okay. Go to the community college, start taking your math courses. There's no loss in that. They might have to pay for the class, but you haven't done them any harm by keeping them home and helping them to develop their spiritual, emotional selves, to save money, to learn about giving to others and all that, and help them to hone their own interests. You haven't hurt them by keeping them home to do that, because they can always catch up on the other stuff. It's really not a big deal. Okay, I'm just telling you, we've done it 13 times and it's really not a big deal. Okay, but you have to give up the idea of typical, remember, because I know that everybody's supposed to go to these competitive Ivy League university colleges or a state university, but not everybody has to. Most people that are truly successful and have shown themselves to be great influencers or have made lots of money or whatever, most of them didn't go to those Ivy League schools. I mean, I know you could maybe years and years and years ago, but those Ivy League schools are getting worse and worse and worse. And you know that I heard that lots of employers, they're not hiring kids from the schools that have gone really bad, and we'll use that word woke, okay? They aren't hiring from there as much as they used to because they don't trust what they're turning out. So, this is an opportunity for homeschoolers to shine, and there's so many different routes to the place where God wants our children to go. And it's usually not typical. It might be, maybe God wants your child to do that for some reason. I'm not discounting it totally, but I'm just saying, if this is what you want to do, this is how God's leading you, it's a good thing. It's not bad. And it's okay. Everything's going to turn out, I promise. Okay. So consider alternatives to moving from high school to college. Okay, for one thing, there are trades instead of degrees. There are certificates and all kinds of stuff instead of degrees. There's all kinds of ways your child can be successful without having to have a 4-year degree or a master's degree or whatever. There's so many different avenues. Just be open and willing to just take one step at a time of faith and allow God to lead and direct you. Okay, now what about transcripts and grade averages and diplomas? All right, basically, you keep a loose record of all the things you are learning, all the things your child is learning, all the different experiences they're having, and their community service, the courses they're taking, the different clubs, the different things they do, even if it's not an official club. If they get together with their friends and play chess every Wednesday, that's the chess club. Okay, just saying. Then you translate all of that, right, into education needs. You put it into a form that would fit on a transcript. So how you do this is you get a typical transcript. You find out what the graduation requirements of your state are. And you say, well, when you did this counts for this, and this, okay? And you learn about the hours, but you don't have to be really strict, okay? Because nobody really cares. I'm just telling you. It's not as big of a deal as you think it is. It's not that big of a deal. We've graduated 13 children, I know. Okay? But, there is a time they probably need a transcript, or they will need a grade average, or they will need a diploma. Well, you as a mom, create those things. It's your school. You taught them. You know what grades they deserve in the different areas. I always give my children always get a 4.0 average. And when they need a diploma, you design it and you print it out and you sign it, and there's their diploma. I know it sounds too simple. I don't share this with people who are against homeschooling because it really freaks them out. But that's really how simple it is. It doesn't have to be that complicated. We have children that have college degrees, a number of them. And we just, some of them, I mean, here's another trick I'll tell you. If your child at all can go to a community college for their freshman year at least, and make sure their credits are transferable, then you've actually saved buku money, and they didn't have to do the SATs. There's usually a college entrance exam they take, and they don't have to do the SATs, and it's, you know, from there they can go wherever they want, and you save them money, and they have a taste of college to see if they even want to do it. So that's another way you can do that. Just put them in community college for their freshman year, and you know, it's another step up, and it's easy to do. Okay. Test prepping. Okay. It is important, especially if you've homeschooled in freedom like we do. Test preparation is very useful. Okay. But it's not hard to do. What you do is you go online or you go to your local bookstore and you get like a test prep book. You can do a test prep for the ASVAB, that's the Armed Services Verbal and Arithmetic Battery or something like that. You can get one. You can study for the SATs. You can do whatever you want to, and just get a test. You can do the GED. You can get a GED test prep thing, and so it'll cover the basics of everything. And just get one of those, and just like for half an hour or to an hour every day, have your child just slowly work through it, and then they'll take the practice tests. Sorry, some birds. I think these are little blackbirds in our yard. There they are. It's kind of hard to do this outside in the morning. Everything's crazy. So if you can handle it, I'll keep talking. Anyway, so it's good to have a little test prep. Also good to teach them how to take notes. And like, you can do this with sermons though. They don't have to go to a class to take notes. You can like have them take notes of a sermon and then have them tell them back to you, you know. There's different ways to do that. Okay, and so basically, that's what you need to know, except for this, that you need to remember that as your child grows into adulthood, your role changes. Okay, you move from keeping close track and having final control to holding them more loosely. What you want to do is you want to take the reins of their learning and hand them over to them, so they're in charge. And this is their life, right? You need to keep from becoming reactive also. Okay, they're going to make many mistakes, okay, as they are figuring out who they are. Expect the mistakes and don't get shocked by them. Okay, like, we didn't raise you to do that. What do you know? Why are you know? No, that's the last thing you need to do. You need to stay calm when they say, Mom, I just totaled my car, you know, like, you know, let's see, 2 of our girls were coming back from skiing the winter before last, and they were in a car with a friend, and she was going a little too fast on a country road around a corner, and their car flipped 3 times and then landed on its wheels, and no one in the car experienced anything but a bruise. That was God's protection. I'm telling you, that was amazing. But it's just part of kids growing up. They're going to be in situations, okay? We need to be as calm as possible to help them through these different things they're going to face. And there's going to be lots of them, okay? Just be used to it, but trust in God and be in the peace of God. You know, practice the fruits if you have to, and I think this is actually what you must do. When your child comes to you and they want to talk to you about something serious, automatically go through the fruits of the Spirit in your mind. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, and self-control. That is the best thing you can do to prepare yourself for those conversations, okay? Because they need the fruits and you need the fruits in order to handle it properly. Okay, remember, this is a really, really important point. God doesn't have grandchildren. It doesn't matter how much Bible you've given your children. It doesn't matter that they've grown up in a Christian home with a Christian family, maybe even for generations. Their relationship with God has to become their own, or it's not going to be any good. And there might be a time when they're going to pull away and look at things really hard, but that's part of their process. and understand it, okay? It doesn't mean if while they're doing this, they're being punks, okay? It doesn't mean you have to put up with that. You can say, listen, if you're going to be a punk, you don't live with us, all right? And you can set them out on their own so that the rest of the family doesn't have to go be drugged through the whole thing. But you still have to be loving and kind and understanding through that time of questioning. It's okay. Just keep praying and believing, right? Okay, so you have to, there's this old saying, right? Let go and let God. Okay. You've enjoyed the privilege of parenting your children while they were young. Now you must allow God to do the parenting because He's better at it anyway. Now, the teen years can be full of trials and uncertainties, but they are also some of the most joyful, happy times of your entire parenting experience, because now you are not only watching some of the fruits of all that you poured into them, but now you're like, you turn from the authority to the child. Now you're like more like friends, more like sisters and brothers, and you're sharing things together. Some of my best friends in the whole world are my grown kids, and their spouses are just amazing, and we just love them, and the grandchildren. So it's a time of uncertainty. And you can get really afraid when you think of the high school years, but go into it with joy and expectation. Because while there are trials, just like in every part of childhood, there's going to be some pitfalls and some different things that you have to really struggle through. The joys are abundant, and it is so happy. Look, I'm a grandma age, but I have teens in my house. Do you know how fun that is? Do you know how young it keeps me? I mean, we do so many fun things together, and they're always showing me new stuff and teaching me new things, and I just love them. I enjoy them. And then I do the FaceTime with those that have grown up and have grown away, and we just have just the greatest time. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. There are heartaches and there are estrangements in our family. It's just par for the course, right? But I still believe that it's worth homeschooling your high schoolers. I just still believe that. So you can take that and you can enjoy it. And I just want to tell you that I'm working on the second commonplace book. If you missed it, the first commonplace book is on my website for free. I still have to add it to the freebies page, so please forgive me. But if you go to the blog post on the commonplace book, then you'll find the free download. But it's also going to be on Amazon. I'm hoping. I already submitted it. They've been looking at it. They just got to send me the email that it's ready for purchase on Amazon.com. So I'll have links. I'm going to give an announcement on the community part of this this channel on YouTube. So make sure you click the bell so that you'll be notified when that happens, so that you can purchase it. But until then, you can get it for free. And I'm working on number 2 right now. I'm doing the finessing and the coloring and all that kind of. Oh, it's so fun! I just love this part. So anyway, that'll be done soon. So with that, I hope you've gotten something done while you've been listening to me. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Do all the liking and subscribing and bell clicking and all the wonderful things. Bye-bye.